press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update.
Hello students, welcome back to the video classes. Today let us move on to the part 55 of some basic principles and techniques. In the previous class we discussed about one of the important electronic effects, that is hyperconjugation effect. So in hyperconjugation effect there is an interaction takes place between sigma electrons and the pi electrons, and the hyperconjugative structures definitely increases the stability of the molecules. As the number of structures goes on increases, contribution towards the stability of the molecule also increases, as in case of the resonance effect. But in resonance effect there is an interaction between pi bond and a pi bond, or pi bond and a lone pair of electrons. So the resonance or the stability given by hyperconjugation effect, definitely it is less compared to that of the stability given by the resonance effect. So please remember this point. So whenever there is a competition between hyperconjugation effect and the resonance effect predominates over the hyperconjugation effect. The reason for that is the hyperconjugation effect involves the interaction of strong sigma bond and a pi bond. Here, after the displacement of sigma electrons of the alpha CH bond, it involves in a conjugation with the pi bond. Clear? So let us move on to what is the consequence of this hyperconjugation effect, or what is the importance of this conjugation effect. So this conjugation effect is very important. It tells about ortho and para directing nature of the methyl group present in a toluene. So let me give the toluene here. As you know that methyl benzene is nothing but toluene. So this is toluene and here is a methyl group, correct? So in the importance of hyperconjugation effect, so importance of hyperconjugation effect, let me write. Importance of hyperconjugation effect. What's the importance of hyperconjugation effect? It tells about the ortho-para directing nature of the methyl group. As we know that group with plus M effect, if we give group with plus M effect, so recall your memory while giving the positive or the positive resonance or the positive mesomeric effect, I have given few groups which exerts positive mesomeric effect, like NH2 group and NHR group, like this I have given. In all the groups the K atom possessing lone pair of electrons. So in most of the groups with positive mesomeric effect, so where there is a lone pair of electrons on the K atom, and one more group I have given is methyl group, or in general alkyl group. It is also ortho and para directing because it also exerts positive mesomeric effect, as I said. But the exception is that the key atom carbon here, carbon is a key atom of the methyl group. It does not contain any lone pair of electrons. It does not contain any lone pair of electrons, but still it exerts positive mesomeric effect. Therefore, we cannot explain the ortho and para directing nature of the methyl group by resonance effect or the mesomeric effect, as it involves the interaction between pi bonds and a pi bond and a lone pair of electrons. But exception to this, the ortho and para directing nature of the CH3 group can be explained on the basis of hyperconjugation effect here. Okay. Now, how this methyl group present in toluene acts as ortho and para directing. So let me give the toluene here. This is toluene or methyl benzene. So this is toluene. So here what we have, the double bonded carbon. This is double bonded carbon. All the carbon atoms present in the benzene ring is double bonded carbon, and this carbon is alpha carbon, and this hydrogen become alpha hydrogen, and this bond become alpha CH bond. Correct? Now this bond displaces here. Where it displaces, this sigma electron of alpha CH bond displaces here, and the simultaneous displacement of the pi bond takes place, and thereby we will get a conjugation between sigma electron. This becomes double bonded carbon, and the loss of bond here, hydrogen gets the positive charge, and here will get, and here will get a negative charge. Okay. Now this negative charge, see here sigma electron displaces here between these two carbon, and double bond single bond and a negative charge, or double bond single bond and a pi bond, means the conjugation takes place between sigma bond and a pi bond. Now this negative charge displaces here and it displaces here. You can write one more hyperconjugative structure, and here will get a negative charge, and here the H plus, and here is a bond. Okay. Now this negative charge displaces here and it displaces on this carbon. You can write one more hyperconjugative structure here, and here is a negative charge, and H plus, H and H, and this negative charge displaces, and again it displaces here. So observe the structures here. We have negative charge on ortho position, and here we have para position, and again here it is a ortho position. It means to say on ortho and para positions it exerts negative charge, and this negative charge develops at ortho and para positions because of the displacement of sigma electrons of alpha CH bonds. When the displacement of the sigma electrons, that is bonded pair of sigma electrons of alpha CH bond takes place, this effect is nothing but a hyperconjugative effect or hyperconjugation effect, and the structures are called hyperconjugative structures. So because of the hyperconjugation effect, it develops negative charges at ortho and para positions. The incoming electrophile attacks at ortho and para positions, and hence we can say the methyl group of toluene is ortho and para directing. That can be explained on the basis of hyperconjugation effect, and this is one of the importance of hyperconjugation effect. And the second one is it tells about the stability of alkenes. It tells about that stability of alkenes. So let me give an alkene here, CH2 double bond CH2. It is nothing but ethene, correct? One of the hydrogen atoms of ethene, if it is replaced by methyl group, what you get? CH2 double bond CH3. And what is this carbon? Alpha carbon. How many alpha CH bonds are here? 3 alpha CH bonds are here. I have already explained this effect. So these are the alpha CH bond. There are 3 alpha CH bonds, correct? So on the basis of number of alpha CH bonds, we can write number of hyperconjugative structures. So if 3 alpha CH bonds are there, then 3 hyperconjugative structures that we can write because of the displacement of bonded pair of sigma electrons of either this alpha CH bond or this alpha CH bond or this alpha CH bond. So we can write 3 hyperconjugative structures here. Now let me take one more hydrogen atoms of ethene if it is replaced by methyl group here. So you can take CH3, CH double bond CH3. So the name is 1, 2, 3, 4 butene, correct? Butene, and here we have this is alpha and this is alpha carbon. Why it is alpha? Because it is adjacent to the functional group. Functional group here is double bonded carbon. How many alpha CH bonds are there? 3 plus 3. So total 6 alpha CH bonds are there. 6 alpha CH bonds are there, which means to say you can write 6 hyperconjugative structures. As the number of hyperconjugative structures goes on increases, stability also increases. So in that way you can say it is not substituted alkene. It is ethene, it is not substituted. Not substituted means all the hydrogen atoms attached to the double bonded carbon remains as it is here, because this is not substituted by the alkyl group, but the hydrogen atoms of the double bonded carbon is substituted by alkyl group. Then hyperconjugation effect increases, then the stability also increases. Then you can say this is alkene, this is substituted alkene, and this is more substituted alkene, because the hydrogen atoms of the double bonded carbon atoms goes on decreases because of the substitution. Here we have 1, 2, 3. 3 hydrogen atoms are there which are bonded to double bonded carbon, and here only we have 2 hydrogen atoms which are bonded to double bonded carbon atoms. So it means to say as the number of hydrogen atoms attached to double bonded carbon goes on decreases, substitution of the alkene goes on increases, stability also increases. Or you can say highly substituted alkenes are more stable. What is the statement that we can give? Highly substituted alkenes. Highly substituted alkenes are more stable. That is according to Sudsuff rule, that you are going to study this in a next unit called hydrocarbons. Okay. So highly substituted alkenes are always more stable because of hyperconjugation effect. Because of hyperconjugation effect. So let me give one example for this. Give the decreasing order of stability of the following alkenes. Let me give the example. So give the decreasing order of stability of the following alkenes. First one, second one, this is second one, third one, third one, okay, fourth one, so this is fourth one, and the fifth one. Fifth one. Okay. So there are alkenes are here. First compound is ethene. It keep on substituted by methyl group. Methyl group, if it is substituted to the double bonded carbon, if it is substituted to double bonded carbon, and fifth one is this. Keep on substituted by methyl group means it becomes alpha methyl group, and which containing alpha CH bonds. Then we can write the hyperconjugated structures. So now we need to write the decreasing order of stability of these alkenes. Look at here, 1 methyl group means 3 alpha CH bonds, 3 alpha CH bonds here, and here we have, this is alpha carbon, and here we have 3 alpha carbon atoms, and 3 alpha carbon atoms are bonded to 3 hydrogen atoms. Total number of alpha CH bonds is 9 alpha CH bonds, and here no alpha CH bonds, no alpha CH bonds, correct? And here 1, 2, 3, 4 means 12 alpha CH bonds are here, and here 2 alpha carbon atoms means we have 6 alpha CH bonds. As the number of alpha CH bonds goes on increases, definitely hyperconjugative structures increases and stability also increases. Now, what is the order of stability of different alkenes here? So, which comes first? Fourth one, then fourth one, then comes second one, then comes the fifth one, first one, and then last one is second. From here to here, stability decreases because number of alpha CH bonds decreases. As the number of alpha CH bonds decreases, hyperconjugative structures decreases. The hyperconjugation structure or hyperconjugation property or the effect decreases, stability also decreases. So, this is the order of stability of different substituted ethenes. So, fourth one, then comes second one with the 9 alpha CH bonds, then comes the fifth one which containing 6 alpha CH bonds, then comes first one which containing 3 alpha CH bonds, and in the third there is no here I missed the thing here, third one. So, third one is ethene. So, that is less substituted alkene because substituent group is not there. All the hydrogen atoms are in a molecule and it is not get substituted by alpha CH bonds. Okay. Now, let us move on to the next topic here. Differences between electronic effects, so differences, first one, let me give the differences between inductive effect and mesomeric effect. Or resonance effect. So, differences between mesomeric effect and the inductive effect and the mesomeric effect or the resonance effect. So, what is the first difference here? The first difference is inductive effect involves the displacement of sigma electrons here, whereas mesomeric effect or the resonance effect involves the displacement of pi electrons or the lone pair of electrons. This is the first important difference between inductive effect and the mesomeric effect, and both the effects are here permanent effects. Both the effects are permanent effects here. So, in inductive effect there is a displacement of sigma electrons takes place, and in case of mesomeric effect or the resonance effect, so there is a displacement of pi electron or the lone pair of electrons takes place. And again, when sigma electron takes place, it involves the partial displacement. So, it involves the partial displacement, therefore, it develops partial polarity. Since it involves the partial displacement of sigma electrons, it develops partial polarity. Here it involves the complete displacement. And hence it develops complete polarity. Complete polarity means it develops unit charges. So here, in case of inductive effect, so the partial polarity develops here and the complete polarity develops in case of mesomeric effect, and it is common in saturated compound. Inductive effect is common in saturated compounds as it involves the displacement of the sigma electrons, but we cannot say that it does not take place in unsaturated compound. It also takes place in unsaturated compound, but the displacement of only sigma electrons takes place, not the pi bond. So, it is commonly observed in saturated compound, whereas mesomeric effect is observed in unsaturated conjugated, very important, conjugated compound. Unsaturated conjugated compound. Here the conjugation is not required, but here the conjugation is must. Okay. Now, as the distance goes on decreases, magnitude of inductive effect, magnitude of inductive effect decreases as distance increases. When the distance between the source of the inductive effect and the carbon atom increases, the magnitude of inductive effect decreases. But here no such decrease in the magnitude of mesomeric effect. It is same throughout the molecule, throughout the entire molecule, the magnitude remains the same. Magnitude remains the same. And the last one you can say, in case of inductive effect, it operates over a short distance, but it operates in an entire molecule. So once the displacement of the pi electron or the lone pair of electron takes place, it takes place throughout the molecule. It means to say there is no restriction of the number of carbon atoms. It takes place throughout the molecule. So the displacement takes place in an entire molecule, but it operates over a short distance. It operates over an entire molecule. It takes place in an entire molecule because in case of inductive effect, beyond third carbon, after 3 carbon atoms, the inductive effect is completely zero. Inductive effect is completely zero. That we need to consider here, and it is very, very important. It operates over a short distance, but whereas it operates over a long distance or in an entire molecule. So these are the some differences between inductive effect and the mesomeric effect or the resonance effect. Now let us move on to the differences between inductive effect and the electromeric effect. Electromeric effect. So as I said, this inductive effect involves the displacement of sigma electrons, whereas electromeric effect involves the displacement of pi electrons. It involves the displacement of pi electrons. And since it is a displacement of sigma electron, definitely partial displacement takes place and a partial polarity develops in the molecule. But here again the complete displacement takes place. Complete displacement takes place and the complete polarity or the unit charges develops on the molecule. Unit charges develops on the molecule. And a very important one here is this effect, that is inductive effect, is permanent. So it is a permanent effect. It is a permanent effect, whereas electromeric effect is a temporary effect. It is a temporary effect. Very important difference between the inductive effect and the electromeric effect. Inductive effect is a permanent effect, whereas electromeric effect is a temporary effect. So because the electromeric effect requires an attacking reagent, it requires an attacking reagent. So electromeric effect, the displacement of the pi electron takes place only under the influence of attacking reagent, but it does not requires attacking reagent. So it does not requires attacking reagent. It does not require any attacking reagent. So these two are the very important differences between inductive effect and the electromeric effect, and it can be observed in saturated compound, but it is always observed in unsaturated compound. always observed in unsaturated compound. And the last difference here is, whatever the electrons involved during this electronic effect, that is in case of inductive effect, whatever the electrons involved in this inductive effect or the displacement or the electronic effect, they do not leave the original orbital. They do not leave the original orbital. So, electrons involved remains in a same orbital, or they do not, the electrons involved do not leaves the original orbital. So it always retains in the same orbital, or it always retains in the orbital of a bonded atoms, any one of the bonded atoms. So it always retains in a same orbital of a bonded atoms, whereas here it leaves the original orbitals and it occupies the new orbital. It occupies the new orbital. ಏನು atomic orbital of bonded atoms ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನು, ಆ pi electron displace ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ, so it leaves the original orbital and it occupies the new orbital. It occupies the new orbital. So that is a very important difference between electromagnetic effect and the inductive effect. So note down the points. Now let us move on to the differences between mesomeric effect and the electromeric effect. Differences between mesomeric effect and the electromeric effect. Here in mesomeric effect, it involves the displacement of pi electron and the lone pair of electron, but here it involves the displacement of pi electrons only pi electrons, but both involves the complete displacement. In case of mesomeric effect or in case of electromeric effect, both involves the complete displacement and both gives a unit charges. That is the similarity. Okay. Now second one, it takes place in unsaturated conjugated compound. But here it takes place in unsaturated compound only. Means conjugation is not required for electromeric effect, but conjugation is must for mesomeric effect. So this involves the displacement of pi electron and lone pair of electron, but electromeric effect involves only the displacement of pi electrons. Mesomeric effect takes place in unsaturated conjugated compound. Conjugation is must, but here it takes place in unsaturated compound, means conjugation is not required, and it is a permanent effect. Mesomeric effect is a permanent effect, whereas electromeric effect is a temporary effect. And electromeric effect requires an attacking reagent, but it does not require attacking reagent. Okay. Now here in this case, it occupies the new orbital. Electrons involved occupies the new orbital, but it remains in a same orbital. It do not leave the original orbital, so it lives in a same orbital. Molecularly ಯಾವ orbital ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತು, one of the bonded atoms na occupy ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರುತ್ತೆ, and it retains in a same orbital. It does not leave the original orbital, but here it occupies the new orbital. So these are the some differences between inductive effect, mesomeric effect, and inductive effect, electromeric effect, and mesomeric effect and the electromeric effect. You may get 2 marks question in your theory exams. Give the differences between any of the three. So inductive effect and the mesomeric effect, or inductive effect and the electromeric effect, or mesomeric effect and the electromeric effect. Okay, so just you need note a point here. Now let us move on to the next one. So let us move on to the next topic here. Types of organic reactions. Types of organic reactions and mechanism. So types of organic reactions. What are the different types of organic reactions that we can come across during the properties, chemical properties of organic compounds in organic chemistry? What are all the nature of the reactions that we can come across? So that gives the types of organic reactions and the mechanisms. So in case of organic reactions, commonly we have substitution reactions, addition reactions, elimination reactions, and rearrangement reactions. These are the four important types of organic reactions and mechanisms which can come across in organic chemistry. So let us consider the first one, substitution reactions, or you can say displacement. So it is nothing but a displacement reactions. Okay. Now, what do you mean by substitution reaction? Let me give the example. Chloromethane, when it reacts with aqueous NaOH, it results in the formation of methanol and with the formation of sodium chloride. In this case, Cl minus is replaced by OH minus, and this is nucleophile and this is also nucleophile. And let me give the second reaction here. See, in benzene, let me write one hydrogen here, and when it reacts with chlorine in the presence of ferric chloride as a catalyst, then what you get? Benzene gets converted to chlorobenzene with the formation of HCl, and here H plus, that is electrophile, replaced by Cl plus, chloronium ion. And the third example let me give here, CH3, that is CH4 Cl2 in presence of diffused sunlight, and you'll get chloromethane. Take methane, when it reacts with chlorine in presence of diffused sunlight, you'll get methyl chloride and HCl. Here hydrogen, what is this? Free radical, correct? Hydrogen free radical is replaced by chlorine free radical, which means to say substitution reaction is nothing but a replacement of, in a substrate molecule, if the replacement of an atom or the group of atoms takes place by another atom or group of atoms, is called substitution reactions. So what are substitution reactions? In substrate molecule, atom or a group of atoms is replaced by another atom or a group of atoms. Then such type of reactions are called substitution reactions. So here substrate is methyl chloride, benzene and methane. In methyl chloride Cl is replaced, and in benzene hydrogen is replaced, and in methane again hydrogen is replaced. Depending on which atom or the group of atoms here it displaces. So which atom or the group of atoms here it is replaces. On the basis of that we can classify it into three types. This is nucleophilic substitution, electrophilic substitution, free radical substitution. Means it depends on the reaction intermediate. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನ್ಯೂಕ್ಲಿಯೋಫೈಲ್ replace ಆದರೆ nucleophile is replaced by another nucleophile. Here electrophile present in a substrate molecule is replaced by another new electrophile, and there the free radical present in a substrate is replaced by another new free radical. So then it is called substitution. Since it here replaces nucleophile, it is nucleophilic substitution, electrophilic substitution and free radical substitution. So that nature of the substitution depends on reaction conditions and also depending on the nature of the substrate molecule. Substrate molecule na nature mele, reaction condition mele we can decide whether it is nucleophilic substitution or electrophilic substitution or the free radical substitution. All this depends on nature of the substrate molecule and condition of the reactions. Okay, now move on to the second reaction, second type of reaction. Second one, addition reactions. Addition reactions. So this addition reactions is applicable only for unsaturated compounds. Unsaturated compounds means aliphatic compounds. Aliphatic compounds unsaturated which containing a open chain of carbon atoms and having a multiple bonds. And it is not applicable for benzene because benzene is also unsaturated compound, but in benzene undergoes addition reaction means it loses its aromatic character. Already I told about that property. And if you take alkenes and alkynes, the important characteristic properties of alkenes and alkynes are addition reactions, that you have to remember. So addition means addition of any of the molecule. So addition reaction involves the addition of one or more molecules or atom across the double or a triple bond. One molecule is get added to one pi bond. So alkene containing one pi bond, therefore adding reagent requires only one for alkenes, but alkynes containing two pi bonds, therefore it requires two adding reagent. Adding reagent is called addendum. Adding reagent is also called addendum. So alkenes requires one addendum, but alkynes requires two addendum because for one pi bond, one adding reagent. For two pi bonds, two adding reagents. So one addendum molecule is gets added across carbon to carbon double bond, and during this addition reaction unsaturated compound is gets converted to saturated, So let me give the example. H2 in presence of nickel as a catalyst, what you get? Two hydrogen atoms are added across the double bonded carbon and you will get a ethane. See, unsaturated becomes saturated, ethene becomes ethane. Even you can take ethyne, but you need to take two molecules of hydrogen here. Okay, now let me give one more example. CH2 double bond CH2 HCl, what you get? Ethyl chloride. One hydrogen atom is added to one double bonded carbon, chlorine gets added to another double bonded carbon, and CH2 double bond CH2 Cl2, then you will get CH2Cl, CH2Cl. Addition of halogen takes place across the double bonded carbon or the triple bonded carbon, results in the formation of dihaloalkanes. This is monohalo, this is dihalo. Since it involves the addition of hydrogen here, one more example let me give. Addition of water takes place in presence of a dilute acid and you will get ethanol. Water is also added across the carbon to carbon double bond. Then you can call it as hydrogenation, hydrogenation, hydrohalogenation, hydrohalogenation, halogenation and hydration. Hydration. So these are the reactions. Named reactions: hydrogenation, addition of hydrogen across the carbon to carbon double bond or across the carbon to carbon triple bond. Hydrohalogenation, addition of hydrogen halide across the carbon to carbon double bond or carbon to carbon triple bond. Halogenation, addition of halogen across the carbon to carbon double bond or carbon to carbon triple bond. Addition of water is called hydration across the carbon to carbon double bond or carbon to carbon triple bond. So on the basis of nature of the reagent is gets added across the double bond or a triple bond, you can name it as hydrogenation, hydrohalogenation, halogenation and hydration. So these are the addition reactions. What is the difference between addition reaction and a substitution reaction? Substitution reaction involves byproduct along with the product, but addition reaction involves only the formation of only one product. ನೀವು ಎಷ್ಟೇ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದಿತ್ತು ಅಂದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಅಡಿಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ 2 + 2 gives 3 + 1 ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಆರ್ ಇದೇ ಮ್ಯಾಥಮೆಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು 2 + 2ನ 4 ಅಂತ ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಕರೆಕ್ಟಾ? ಇದನ್ನ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್, ಇದನ್ನ ಅಡಿಷನ್ ಅಂತ ತಗೋಬಹುದು. ಸೊ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಇಟ್ ಇನ್ವಾಲ್ವ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲಾಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಬೈ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್. ಸಬ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಬೈ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ನು ರಿಮೈನಿಂಗ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಬೈ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಇದ್ದೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಅಡಿಷನ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ದ ನಂಬರ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ಸ್, product is only one and that is called addition reaction. In that way you can identify the addition reaction and the substitution reaction. Okay, so addition reaction, and let us move on to the second one, third one, called elimination reaction. Elimination reaction. Elimination reactions. So consider the molecules here. See here, in a same reaction, if you change the arrow mark, direction of the arrow mark here, direction of the arrow mark here, then you will get elimination. Yes. If you change the direction, then you will get the elimination. So here dehydrogenation means if you remove hydrogen, then you will get ethene along with the hydrogen. The product is ethene and the byproduct is hydrogen. So one hydrogen is removed from one carbon, another hydrogen is removed from another carbon, so that it forms a one bond between the two carbon atoms. So saturated gets converted to unsaturated here. Since it involves the removal of hydrogen, this is called dehydrogenation. So dehydrogenation is an example for elimination reaction. Then what do you mean by elimination reaction? The process of removal of atom or group of atoms from the adjacent carbon atoms under a suitable reaction conditions are called elimination reactions. If you remove hydrogen, then it is called dehydrogenation. If you remove hydrohalogenation, hydrogen halide here, so HCl, then it is called dehydrohalogenation. Removal of hydrogen and chlorine from the adjacent carbon atoms results in the formation of again alkene, then it is called dehydrohalogenation. If you put a prefix D here, sorry, if you put a prefix D before these reactions, then it is elimination. If you remove these prefixes, then it becomes addition reaction. Dehydrohalogenation, removal of halogen. See here, H2CH2 with chlorine. One chlorine is eliminated from this carbon, another chlorine is eliminated from the adjacent carbon. Removal of halogen is dehalogenation. It is dehalogenation. Similarly, remove OH from one carbon and hydrogen from another carbon, but it requires a concentrated sulfuric acid. It acts as a dehydrating agent which helps in the removal of water. Then you can call it as dehydration. Again you will get CH2 and water. Water is eliminated from the compound, hence the reaction is dehydration. Halogen is eliminated from the compound, hence it is dehalogenation. Hydrogen halide is eliminated from the carbon, hence it is dehydrohalogenation, and hydrogen is removed from the molecule, hence it is called dehydrogenation. So these are the important three types of reactions in organic reaction mechanism, and the fourth one is called rearrangement reaction. Rearrangement reactions. What do you mean by rearrangement reactions? I will give the example. So consider CH3, CH2, 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 CH3. When it undergoes reaction in presence of anhydrous aluminum chloride, under this condition what happens? CH3, CH3, CH2, CH3. So what is this compound? N-pentane. N-pentane gets converted to isopentane. You can also name this reaction as isomerization. During isomerization, the rearrangement of the molecule takes place. What do you mean by rearrangement? Migration of an atom or the group of atoms takes place within the molecule. So from first carbon to the third carbon ಗೆ ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂದರೆ 1,3 ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, 1,2 ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, 1,3 ಶಿಫ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು. ವಿದಿನ್ ದ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಟಮ್ ಅಥವಾ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಟಮ್ ಮೈಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವೇನು ಕರಿತೀವಿ? ರೀಅರೇಂಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್. ದ ಮೈಗ್ರೇಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಅನ್ ಆಟಮ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಟಮ್ಸ್ ವಿದಿನ್ ದ ಮಾಲಿಕ್ಯೂಲ್ ಈಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ the rearrangement reaction. So isomerization is a best example for rearrangement reaction. N-pentane gets converted to isopentane. Chain isomerism change agide illi. These two are chain isomers. During reaction mechanism, such type of rearrangement always takes place when the reaction intermediate is formed. Bare complete reaction alli product formation alla intermediate formation agbekadru intermediate can also undergo rearrangement. So the best example here is CH3, CH3, CH2 plus. Okay. So what is this carbocation? This carbocation is the primary carbocation. Correct. So when this carbocation, see here is a hydrogen. This primary carbocation is less stable. Whenever the less stable carbocation or the reaction intermediate is formed, so by the rearrangement of that intermediate, if it gives a more stable intermediate, definitely then this undergoes rearrangement. See here, migration of this hydrogen along with the bond takes place. H minus hydride transfer takes place. 1,2 shift ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲೇ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ this is called 1,2 shift. 1,2 shift of hydride ion takes place. H minus ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಮೈಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಆದಾಗ ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ? neutral ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, and this carbon gets the positive charge and this becomes CH3. Because of the migration, 1-2 migration or 1-2 shift of hydride ion, primary carbocation gets converted to tertiary carbocation. See here, this becomes tertiary carbocation, and as we know that tertiary carbocation is more stable than the secondary carbocation. As the intermediate, stability of the intermediate increases, rate of the reaction also increases, and the more stable is the resulting product. Yavaga intermediate more stable agutte, speed of reaction increase ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಡ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ದ ಸೊ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಏನಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಮೋರ್ ಸ್ಟೇಬಲ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಅಂಡ್ ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ದ ಮೇಜರ್ ಪ್ರಾಡಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಪ್ರೈಮರಿ ಕಾರ್ಬೋಕೇಟಯಾನ್ is gets converted to secondary carbocation by rearrangement. So rearrangement of the primary carbocation takes place here. 1-2 shift of hydride ion gives a more stable tertiary carbocation, and thereby speed of the reaction increases, stability of the product also increases. So this is nothing but rearrangement reaction in the organic reaction mechanism. Okay, so these are the 4 important types of organic reactions and mechanism that it can come across in organic reactions, are the properties of the organic compounds. Okay, now let us move on to the next concept. So in a next concept that we can come across, purification of organic compounds and the detection of elements present in organic compound and estimation of these elements which are present in organic compounds. So before going to that, when any new organic compound, either it is isolated from the natural sources or it is synthesized in a laboratory, which needs to be analyzed for its complete composition and also the structural formula, for its structural formula. ಒಂದು ಏನೇ ನ್ಯೂ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಕ್ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್ ಅದನ್ನು ಐಸೋಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ from the natural sources, or you can prepare it in a laboratory by using artificial methods, but that compound needs to be analyzed, analysis. We are talking about analysis, which needs to be analyzed for its complete composition. A newly prepared compound in a composition ನಾವು ಡಿಟರ್ಮೈನ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗೇನೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಂದರೆ ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಗೋ ಫಾರ್ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಕಾಂಪೌಂಡ್, ವಿಚ್ ನೀಡ್ಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಅನಲೈಸ್ಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಕಂಪೋಸಿಷನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಕ್ಚರಲ್ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ. ದೆನ್ ವಾಟ್ ಯು ಮೀನ್ ಬೈ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್? ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಇಸ್ ನಥಿಂಗ್ ಬಟ್ ಡಿಟೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಡಿಟರ್ಮಿನೇಷನ್, or you can say estimation. It involves detection, determination and estimation, and analysis are of 2 types. What are those? Qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. Analysis are of 2 types: qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. What do you mean by qualitative analysis? The name itself gives. So it is nothing but detection of elements present in a given organic compound. So if we detect all the elements present in a given organic compound, then it is nothing but qualitative analysis. It determines the quality once we detect the elements present in a given compound. What do you mean by quantitative? Quantity, amount. Determination of amount of each elements present in a given compound. ಯಾವ ಎಲಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟೆಷ್ಟು ಇದೆ in terms of percentage composition. So the process of determination of amount of each elements present in a given organic compound is nothing but quantitative analysis. The process of detection of elements present in a given organic compound is nothing but qualitative analysis. So here we need to give the amount, and that amount may be in terms of volume or maybe in terms of mass, that is in grams, okay. Then if it is given in terms of volume, then it is called volumetric analysis, and if it is given in terms of mass, that is in grams, then it is nothing but gravimetric analysis. Volumetric example titration ನಿಮಗೆ experiments ಇದೆ first PUC ಅಲ್ಲಿ. Volumetric analysis, gravimetric analysis. mass ನ determine ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಅದನ್ನ grams ಅಲ್ಲಿ express ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ amount ನ, ಅದನ್ನ gravimetric analysis and volumetric analysis. So these are the two types of analysis, qualitative and quantitative analysis. As I said, once the new organic compound, either it is isolated from the natural sources or it is prepared from the laboratory by using artificial methods, which needs to be analyzed for its complete composition and also structural formula. Then what are all the steps involved in the analysis? So what are all the steps involved in analysis? So the first step is purification of organic compound. Purification of organic compounds. Second one is detection of elements. Third one, determination of or estimation of amount of elements. And the fourth step is detection of empirical formula. Fifth one, determination of molecular formula. And the sixth one, detection of functional group. Okay, and the last one, determination of structural formula. So these are the steps involved in the analysis. Once you know the structural formula, then only you can predict, and then that completes the composition of given compound, and thereby you can study the complete properties of the organic compound once you know the structural formula. To determine the structural formula, you have to follow the remaining 6 steps. Purification of organic compound, removal of undesirable impurities present in an organic compound, ಬೇಡದೇ ಇರುವಂಥ impurities, undesirable impurities which is not required. So the process of removal of undesirable impurities which are associated with the organic compound, that process is called purification of organic compound. Detection of elements, qualitative analysis. Determination of amount of elements, quantitative analysis. Once you know the percentage of each elements present in a given compound, you can detect the empirical formula. You know how to detect the empirical formula that you have studied in first unit, some basic concepts of chemistry. Once you know the empirical formula, you can determine the molecular formula if molecular mass of the compound is known or the vapor density of the compound is known. Then once you determine the molecular formula, you can detect the functional group by using the test. You can detect the functional group, and once you detect the functional group, you can determine the structural formula. Once you know the structural formula, you can give the complete properties of the given organic compound. So these are the steps involved in the analysis of organic compound. Let us go with the purification of organic compound in the next class, then the detection and the estimation of the elements. So remember students, for this year 2020 and 2021, this concept from the purification of organic compound, detection of elements and estimation of amount of elements, means qualitative and quantitative analysis. Purification, qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis is deleted from the syllabus, and it is for theory exam. For theory exam this portion is deleted, but for competitive exam, so even it is not mentioned. The for competitive exam you may come with 1 or 2 questions, therefore I will go through these concepts in short, so which is important for your competitive exam. Just I will give only the principle behind the methods and also the calculation part. So you go through these 3 topics in the next class. Okay, thank you.